Welcome to the St. Barnabas Daily Devotion for Tuesday, the 21st of July. Today we're reading 2 Kings chapter 7, verses 3 to 11. Now there were 4 men with leprosy at the entrance of the city gate, and they said to one another, "Why just sit here until we die? If we say, 'Let us go into the city,' we will die there from the famine in the city. But if we sit here, we will also die. So come now, let us go over to the camp of the Arameans. If they let us live, we will live. If they kill us, we will die." So they arose at twilight and went to the camp of the Arameans. But when they came to the outskirts of the camp, there was not a man to be found. For the Lord had caused the Arameans to hear the sound of chariots, horses, and a great army, so that they said to one another, "Look, the king of Israel must have hired the kings of the Hittites and Egyptians to attack us." Thus the Arameans had arisen and fled at twilight, abandoning their tents and horses and donkeys. The camp was intact, and they had run for their lives. When the lepers reached the edge of the camp, they went into a tent to eat and drink. Then they carried off the silver, gold, and clothing, and went and hid them. On returning, they entered another tent, carried off some items from there, and hid them. Finally, they said to one another, "We are not doing what is right. Today is a day of good news. If we are silent and wait until morning light, our sin will overtake us. Now, therefore, let us go and tell the king's household." So they went and called out to the gatekeepers of the city, saying, "We went to the Aramean camp, and no one was there, not a trace, only tethered horses and donkeys, and the tents were intact." The gatekeepers shouted the news, and it was reported to the king's household. I've written today's reflections. Today's passage reminded me of 2 things about God which I never want to forget. First, God doesn't need our help to carry out His plans and purposes. I've sometimes heard people say things like, "Me and God, together we can do anything." That makes me cringe. Everything God does ultimately depends on His power alone, and we need to remember that so we give God all the glory and praise. But the passage also reminded me that God loves to use the weak, the despised, and the nobodies as His instruments. As Paul told the Corinthians, God chose the foolish things of the world to shame the wise. God chose the weak things of the world to shame the strong. 1 Corinthians 1:27. These lepers didn't do anything to send the Arameans packing. God did that. But He let them find out the good news. "Today is a day of good news," they said in verse 9. And He chose these nobodies to be the bearers of the good news that would save their whole city. Isn't that a beautiful picture of evangelism? We didn't do anything to defeat sin and death. Jesus did that on His own. But God uses people to bear that good news to the world. And He doesn't just use the experts and professionals for that. Jesus chose simple, unschooled fishermen to kick off the whole process. So, do you think He wouldn't use you? Today is a day of good news. Ask God to make you like these lepers with the treasure of the gospel.